I think it's safe to say that a popular goal in life by most life forms is to pursue a state of relaxation. We meditate, we wind down, we're always chasing that moment of bliss. So much of our existence is trying to find that perfect state of calm and zen, that gorgeous feeling of accomplishment that we get after a hard day's work, sipping on a cool drink on a hot day, refreshment, peace. It's what we all long for. So can a chord do the same? And if it can do that, can hearing music that has those chords sound relaxed? And can it actually translate and make you feel the same? I think you know the answer, but let's find out why. Structure. Music is all about structure. It's not hyperbole that musicians use terms like bed tracks and supporting harmony and bridge or form. Music is a type of architecture. It's complex and it's a form of engineering. It has shapes and forms that are like building blocks that can be as beautiful and magnificent as a cathedral or quaint and modest like a cozy log cabin. And each of these building blocks has a different purpose in the whole construction. Some hold up the entire building, and if taken away, would make the whole framework collapse. And others are just like ornaments that we hang on walls or paintings, and we focus on them and we enjoy them. Now, a famous German poet once beautifully said that music was liquid architecture. And the incredible French composer Claude Debussy stated that the space between the notes is where the beauty of music actually exists. So just like how we sit and chat and eat and drink and be merry in the spaces between the walls of a room, the magic of music is defined by the spaces, the intervals between the notes. Emotional engineering. So let's tease this concept apart and see why. Let's take a look at one of the most basic structures in music. And stick with me to the end because I'm going to give your ears a cool puzzle to solve once you've learned some of these things. So let's have a look at the triad. As I mentioned before, the triad is 3 notes stacked on top of each other to form a chord. The most basic of these is the major triad. Internally, the structure of this chord is made of measured distances called intervals. Intervals are the units between the notes, just like we measure something when we're building it. We call these intervals by counting the units between 2 notes. So on our journey to discovering the structures in music, we need to count and find out what's contained within our chord structures.
68 cents from Chris. 60 cents from Teddy. $0.07 from... I haven't found my pennies yet.
Counting. Let's do the same when we look at our triad. If you remember from the last video, and by the way, if you haven't watched it, go take a look and come back, because as I go through this journey with you, I'll assume that you're following along systematically from other videos and successively learning as you go. So if you remember from the last video, in the key of C, this particular triad here is the 1 chord. It's also called the tonic. And it's made up of 3 notes, C, E, and G. Now, once again, the distance between these notes is called the interval. In this case, it's a major chord, and the interval between the first 2 notes of the chord is called a major third, which has the distance of 3 notes in the major scale. And the distance between the tonic and the 3rd note of the chord is the perfect 5th. I know it's a bit confusing, but the 3rd note between the 1st and the 3rd note in the chord is called a perfect 5th because it has a distance of 5 notes in the scale. Okay, so now you understand our main structure of the 1 chord, the tonic chord, the major triad. Stay with me because it's important. So this is a major triad. It has 3 notes containing 2 intervals, with the measurements of a major third from the tonic and a perfect 5th from the tonic. So why is this important? Because this channel is about the feelings that music gives us, and it's the feelings that these intervals have that make up the overall feeling of the chord. Just like the ropes that hold up a rope bridge will make you sway as you walk across it, as opposed to a concrete or iron bridge, These foundational feelings give the chord its overall ability to make an impression on how we feel when it plays. So a major third interval has a solid, stable feeling to it. And a perfect fifth has an epic, strong, and even more stable and solid sound to it. Each of these intervals put together to form the major triad make the major chord have a strong, confident, solid personality. So let's talk a bit about personalities. You see, when you listen to music, your mind gets used to certain patterns, like familiar conversations with an old friend. And the mind can even desire certain chords or certain approaches to music that it gets used to, just like it assigns certain people to certain situations. In other words, you learn to depend on certain friends to get you through hard times, or even certain friends that can make a dull time even more exciting. Speaking of old friends, I'll get my trusty strap here. So music is like this as well. As we fall in love with songs that come into our lives, certain musical attributes that connect with us burn into our psyche, and they leave a permanent impression on us. These impressions are built from the feelings and the emotions that the structures of music provide us. Emotional engineering. The major triad is so prevalent in all music. It's sometimes the only main chord type that occurs in some forms of music, especially traditional music. Like the music called soukous from Central Africa. Here, the style rarely, ever, if ever, leaves the realm of the 1, the 4, and the 5 major triad chords. Very solid sounding chords. Let me play you some soukous music here, and you can see how it's just 3 chords. And of course, melodies on top of them. Or in traditional Latin music and Mexican music. Remember this one? So the major triad is strong, it's common, it has a confidence and an assurance, and it really holds its ground. But you know what? Sometimes it just needs to kick its feet up and relax already. Okay, so let's give this hardworking triad a bit of a chill out, a time out, a relaxy taxi ride.
It's a taxi that people take when they need to relax. It's a relaxy taxi!
And we're going to do this with an extension. If you remember, extension is another note that goes on top of a major triad or chord. So here we'll add an octave to our triad. Let's bring in the octave of the root, the tonic note, the C, and an octave above it, and add it to our chord. Now it sounds even more strong with that perfect octave sitting on the top. But we're going to ask this note just to take a chill pill and relax down one step. Just take a seat and kick its legs up and become a seventh, a major seventh. To explain where I'm going with this, let's think about what we do when we prepare for cold weather. We bundle up, we button up, we get all cozy in our winter jackets and our scarves, and we put on layers so that we're protected from the wind and the rain or the snow. You might say that we add structure and strength to our clothing to fortify us from the elements.
I can't put my arms down!
But when it's hot out, when the temperature gets warm, What do? We unbutton our collar, we take our scarf off, we loosen our clothing so that the wind can cool us down. We relax our stature, our structure. And that's why when we ask the octave, the perfect eighth interval, to take a load off and sink down one step, it feels and sounds relaxed. When we ask the octave to calm down, take off its jacket, loosen its belt, and become a major seventh, our triad, with its extension, becomes known as a major seventh chord. This is why when we hear music with lots of major seventh chords, it sounds chill and relaxed and vibey and floaty, just like it's content and calm, feeling a warm, gentle breeze. And we can play different major seventh chords in succession, and they just have this amazing, breezy, relaxed, chill and calm feeling to them. An excellent example of this is the genre of Brazilian music known as the samba or bossa nova. Even though those terms refer mainly to the drum pattern played, a very, very common attribute of the bossa nova or samba music is the use of the major seventh chord. It's what gives this music such a relaxed cocktail hour vibe.
Burning num num.
So now I'm going to ask you to solve a puzzle for me. I'm going to play you 32 bars of the bossa nova rhythm with some chords. And I'm going to number the sections for you. And I want you to see if you can figure out which sections are the strong major chord with the octave on top, and which sections are the relaxed major seventh chord with the octave relaxing by one step down. Okay, so let's do it. If you guessed that sections 3, 5, and 8 had the major seventh chords, you got it right. Could you hear the difference between the major and the major seventh? One sounded more solid and uptight and sort of buttoned up and strong, and the other had a more vibey, relaxed feel to it. Now, there are many other elements in music that make music more relaxed and gentle, but we'll explore those at another time. But a really strong element in music, the influencer of relaxation, is the major seventh chord that we've just learned about. And we can notice the use of the major seventh chord in a lot of music. Here's an example. In French Impressionist composer Erik Satie's Gymnopédie No. 1, we have the 4 major seventh and the 1 major seventh. So that's the 4 triad with the octave relaxed down one half a step, and the 1 chord, like we've just learned, to the major seventh. It creates one of the most relaxed, gentle, and calm, serene pieces of music ever written. This opening is so relaxed and beautiful. And in Australian artist Tame Impala's music, composer Kevin Parker, who's one of my favorite composers and producers of this age, he utilizes the major seventh chord to give a sense of chill and calmness and serenity in a lot of his music, which in the case of Tame Impala helps set that classic, stoned and psychedelic vibe from his music. So here are 2 major seventh chords that he uses in the intro of the song Expectation from his first full-length LP, Inner Speaker. So I hope you understand what makes certain chords so chill and relaxed. So go do whatever it takes to get yourself relaxed. Sit under a tree, pour yourself a cool drink, or do whatever you need, and let the music take you away. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.